Hi everyone, my name is Laika, and as usual, welcome back to my channel. This is where you can learn everything you need to know about getting scholarships, jobs abroad, and just opportunities, and in general, life abroad, how it is like out here. So if you're following me for that, then thank you, and thank you for subscribing. And today let's talk about this war that's been happening in Ukraine. And I know like most of you would be asking yourself the same question that I'm asking myself. I'm like, what's happening? I didn't think that this would be happening in this century and in Europe. And most people are just thinking, yeah, this is like a first world country and it's getting affected. And what's going to happen with the rest of us? So all these sanctions that are being placed on Russia are not only affecting people in Russia, they're affecting all of us. And I would like us to go back and see the history that Africans have had. Of course, after the scramble and petition for Africa, most Africans towards the end of the slavery period and towards the end of colonization, Africans have never been people to take sides when it comes to the big five and that, because we depend on all of them probably for loans, and they all give us help in their own different ways. So African governments did not want to speak against the Russian government, for example, and they didn't want to seem to be like, for example, I saw that Eritrea was voting for Russia, and Tanzania and all that. So like there's a big rift that could easily happen even within Africa because of this, if it came to a point where people had to choose between the two, because all sides have helped us in a way. So this actually puts us in a tough position as people who are interested in getting opportunities elsewhere, because where are the governments standing? Where are our leaders, for example, taking us? Which side is it going to be? And I really hope it never gets to that. But we just have to keep an open mind and to keep hoping for the best. Impact of this war on African immigration. So there are a lot of things that are happening. There are a lot of things that we can discuss. And what are the experts saying about this war? And in general, what are you thinking? Because if you have a thought, please leave it in the comment in a polite way so that we can all have a discussion that helps all of us. Most of the time, what we've been pushing out here and what we've been telling people is that there are job opportunities. There are schooling opportunities for international students. And we all know the living standards are much better. The job opportunities, once you've finished schooling out in Europe or in America or in Canada or Australia, all these first world countries, the opportunities are way more for people out here than they are for people back at home. I'm not saying we don't have job opportunities back at home, we do. But then there are people who have to look elsewhere in order to be able to achieve the full dream or their full potential. Then most of the opportunities will be out here, and they're looking for information. We need to know how to immigrate to these countries, because for a long time this information seemed to be a secret. Not many people knew what to do. Like you had to have someone who was out there for you to know that you can immigrate, or you needed to really learn from your school, be very bright, have a very big talent for you to be able to immigrate. But it's so possible for even the smallest person in the village to dream big and to know that once they've achieved a certain level of knowledge, then they can immigrate. It just needs to be something you think about. You get online, apply, and immigrate. I think that's where I would like most of my subscribers to get at. So if you're watching this for your children, if you're watching this for yourself, I would like us to have so much knowledge that in future it's not a secret for people to know how to immigrate, where we all know what to do. Like, yeah, I'm studying this because I would like to go and work as an engineer here, So first things first, the other day my husband and I were watching Sky News, and they were speaking about nurses and how the NHS is actually recruiting nurses who are refugees or seeking asylum in the UK, if you're a qualified nurse, then they're just absorbing you into the career, into the nursing career, and you can start working with people, you know. So instead of like seeking help throughout, you can actually have a career, you know, in the healthcare sector. So I was really glad to learn that the UK is not shutting us out. You know, it's not saying no more immigrants, we just want to focus on this, but they're actually like still allowing people to come into the UK. And they have like this big number, I think it's 250,000 or something close to that, of nurses that they want to bring in. So if you're a qualified nurse, I would encourage you to still go on, get on to applying, sign up to agencies. I've already shown you how you can sign up as a healthcare assistant, as a nurse, as all that. Just try. In the healthcare sector, it's a very good opportunity. And remember, don't immigrate out of desperation as a healthcare assistant. It has to be something that you like to do, because you're coming to deal with people's loved ones and you're going to be helping them get through the day. So just make sure that you have the heart for it. So when it comes to this war, when you look back in history, when people are doing the scramble and petition for Africa, it seemed like it's just because there were no systems back then to prevent such a thing happening. And I think, like personally, I've felt safe because I always knew like America or the UK, they're the policemen of the world, and they're going, if anything was to happen in the world, they would like strongly oppose it and it would not go very far. But now the concept of a big country attacking a small country seems to be like a possibility because it's been done. So what's to prevent one of these big 5 countries, for example, from attacking a smaller country and the others just stay and speak against it? You know, like I never thought in my lifetime I would reach a point where I would think about that. And because I've been giving people immigration advice and how to immigrate to different places, I had immigration advice on Norway, I had researched on Finland, I had researched on Poland, I had all the information ready. All I needed to do was just give it to you guys. But now these are countries that are bordering Russia, and I'm not very sure how it's going to be in the next few years. For example, I don't want to give someone's child advice and then they go out there and they find themselves in the situation that happened with the international students who are in Ukraine. Now, the sad thing about that, and we all saw it and we all read about it on threads on Twitter, of how African students were suffering at the border because they were not able to leave the country as the others were, and they had to walk very long distances. Now, because of the advice that I've been giving you people, I've formed friendships with people that I've never met. There are people who like every day would ask me like, how are you doing? Like, how are your kids doing? How is life? How is this? And I do the same. I ask them like, have you applied for jobs today? Have you done this? Have you done that? And good news are coming, bad news are coming, you know, rejection letters and all that. And I feel like I'm so close now with this community that I've set up. And I feel like if we don't speak about this, then it's just going to always be something that's hanging in the air, you know. Like, it has to be something that we speak about and we acknowledge that it's happening and we see how we can help each other get through it, you know. So what's happening just now with the war, there are many sanctions that have been placed on Russia. And remember, we also have international students in Russia. It's not just in Ukraine. We also have people who are working in Russia. Like the other day, I met a guy from Sierra Leone who worked as a security guard in Moscow. You see, like that's someone who would be affected by these sanctions. Let's say, for example, someone was living in Moscow and they were working for Starbucks, you know, they were working for Coca-Cola, all these companies that have decided to withdraw from Russia. We also have our own people in there and they are being affected by the sanctions. I've just seen on Sky News that so now cars are not going to be imported from the EU into Russia. They are not going to be importing anything that is more than 300 euros. You cannot export anything that's more than 300 euros into Russia. Of course, there are other sanctions that have been placed by the UK, by the Americans, and all of them are affecting Russia. And yet we have people from our own homes, our families. We have our daughters married in Russia. We have, like, it's an effect on a whole lot of people that if we just sit at home and we think, oh, this is just affecting Russians, they need to do, but then we also have people who are there. A friend of my husband's recently, who's in the UK, and he's married to someone who's in Russia currently. They were actually going through a problem because the wife could not get the visa to come, and she has children, and these are British people who are stuck out there. So you can imagine how much worse it is for Africans who are stuck out in Russia, or the ones who are in Ukraine, of course, because the war was happening there. But then we also have to think about the people who are out in Russia. Now, if you've noticed, most of the African countries did not speak against Russia. It's only Kenya that came out strongly and stood out as the only government in Africa to speak out against Russia and condemn what they're doing. So I'm not sure how it's affecting or how it's going to be for people who are out there making a livelihood, who are in Russia. I'm not speaking about the ones who are in Ukraine because they're trying to leave, and I really hope that everyone is able to make it out safely, and that where they are, they can then be helped by the governments to leave and to go back either to their countries. Now, you have to remember again, there are people who've been born in these countries. Maybe their parents are the ones who immigrated. So there are people who are born in these countries, and they are actually not considered citizens there, like based on immigrating with your parents. So you're going to leave and you don't know where you're going. Like, let's say you've just known you're Kenyan, but you've not been in Kenya yet. So you're just going to go back to a country that you probably don't even know anything about. You need to start making new friendships. You need to start doing all that. Yes, it's good because it's a safe place, but then at the same time, it's a big change to these people. I like to sort of always think about the mental health of people. As much as we as Africans, we've been taught, oh, you're safe, you have to accept the situation. No, we're getting into a part where the world is now very accepting, and we're speaking loudly about mental health and how people are getting affected. So this war, I really hope it ends. I really hope things work, and that all our brothers and sisters who are out in Russia or are out in Ukraine are able to live safely, or are able to keep making a living. Like if you're out in Russia and the sanctions have happened, maybe your company collapses, how are you going to be able to make a living? If you've seen my previous video, I'd started speaking about the EU Blue Skin Card and just see everything. But if it's a country that's a little bit out, then I'm going to be speaking about it. But for now, I really hope that the governments keep doing everything that they can, because I'm just getting to a point where I'm just wondering, like, what if colonization happens again? Would the first world countries just say, we don't want to risk war? And when you're actually in the ground here, for example, when you're in the UK and you see a mom saying, I don't want my son to go into a war that has nothing to do with us, that is something that I understand, because I also would not want to see my daughter suffering because of something that has nothing to do with us, So the whole aspect that I had as a child is just crumbling, and I just don't know where the world is heading just now. I used to think like there won't be a war because America is there, like the UK is there, and these big governments are there, and they're going to be able to prevent. But then I think it's going to get to a point where the UN, for example, that Security Council, they have to include everyone's idea when they're doing these votings, because we learned it in school, and we learned that the big five or something, or the big seven, have to vote yes for something to pass. But now I think it has to be up to the whole world to be able to vote, and us as Africans, we need to have our leaders also having a voice and being able to pass decisions that are affecting us, because the war is affecting us, whether our people are in Russia, whether they're in Ukraine, or in the nearby countries. For example, if someone had planned to immigrate to Poland, now I've not confirmed it, but I've heard that there's a high number of visa rejections just now in the EU. I don't know if it's happened to you. Please write it in the comment section. I don't know if this is to do with the war, you know, like they have to prioritize EU citizens. If someone is from Ukraine and they need a job, then obviously they'll be prioritized by an EU country than you who's coming in from Africa. So already it affects you. If you already had made plans, if you'd had a job offer, I just need us to have an open discussion and see how this affects us as Africans. Now, I'm not an expert. I've been researching online, and most of what I've said is just what experts are saying and how this war is affecting us. Of course, there's a little bit here and there, which is me, because I studied communications and PR in school, and journalism was a big part of that. So I can't stop myself from having an opinion, and because I've dedicated my time to tell you guys about immigration, about opportunities abroad, I feel like it's something that affects us, because it's affected how I'm able to put out information on countries. It used to just be, yeah, you can immigrate to the EU, you can immigrate here, these are the job opportunities here and there, but then now we have to think about peace as well. We used to think about other things that affect us, for example, racism, other people being seen as better than us, like not racism, but you know, like just our qualifications, for example, are not seen as good as qualifications from someone who's studied out here. You know, those are things that were affecting us, but now we have to think about peace as well on top of that. So yeah, let's think about this and really hope that the situation gets better and that the war ends, and hopefully Ukraine can rebuild back up, and yeah, that people can coexist peacefully. I know wars are not solved by people hoping, but that's just my 2 cents, and I hope if someone watches this gets encouraged, because the UK is still taking in immigrants. Other countries like Canada, for example, are still doing it. I'm going to be doing more research to see if the EU is also taking in people from Africa. This is a situation where the world is just learning to live with COVID. We're coming out of lockdowns, we're saying no more masks, and we're thinking, oh, the world is going back to normal, and then boom, a war hits. You know, this is a very big effect on how immigration works, you know, because before you couldn't immigrate to another country unless you had, for example, a COVID pass and everything to do with that. Traveling was a bit of a hassle. So I was just thinking, oh, this is now ending and we're going to be able to go back to normal. But then the war happens, and then there's the sanctions happening, because it doesn't matter where the sanction is happening, it affects you wherever you are. There are people with small businesses who are hoping to bring in more staff so that they can be able to export more, and now they can no longer export to Russia, and then Russia can no longer give us for example, oil, and now the oil is just becoming so expensive. So this is affecting Africans, especially for Africans who wanted to go and work in these countries that are in the EU. The EU is now going to be prioritizing people from the EU, which are from Ukraine, and yeah, and people escaping Russia. You know, like there are people who don't want to be in Russia just now with the sanctions, so they'll be leaving as well. So yeah, hopefully we all find a way to live amicably. But if you're an African out there and you're still thinking about job opportunities abroad and scholarships and all that, I don't want you to be discouraged, because there are other countries that are still taking people. And if you planned on immigrating to, for example, Poland, and you had your job offer, or you had your school letter, like you'd been approved to join a school, you know, you'd been admitted, I would not discourage you from going, because as when you get there, then just form a community, find a way that you can have people around you who are going to help you in case such situations happen, because they happen everywhere. They happen even in Africa. We have wars, and of course I pray that people in Ukraine get the security that they deserve, and that their country is left alone so that they can rebuild and we all live peacefully. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and let's keep talking about immigration. Let's keep speaking about job opportunities abroad, and hopefully we will get the best of our potential, you know. Yeah, if you want to school somewhere, if you want to do this and that, then as usual, this is Laika, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.